Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eric. I'm a researcher and project coordinator at Ipis Antwerp. And following the nice presentation of my colleague Filippo, the IOB on UCT data in Ugandan villages, I will present some preliminary data on effects of UCT in the pilot project in Maniema province in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So the UCT project started in eastern DRC in October 2021, so 2 years ago, in the village of the small village of Mutala, in the territory of Panji, Maniema province. The village is located near the urban and commercial center of Kanima, at about 105 kilometers of the provincial capital, Kingo. And the village is located in a large mining zone, a tin cassiterite mining zone, which was previously owned by the state-owned company Société Aurifère du Kivu et du Maniema, or SACLIMA. So nowadays, the whole area is actually an artisanal mining zone. There's no industrial mining anymore, and the region is void of armed conflict, which is a bit different. The situation there is a bit different from the neighboring provinces of Hort and the South Kivu, and which was actually one of the conditions to start the project, that there were no armed conflicts in the area. So this is a map of the area, and you can see the village of Mutala. You see the city of Kanima, the urban city, the commercial center of Kalima, and you also see to the left the cultural village, Kio2. We also use, I will explain in the next slides, the cultural village, as was already explained by Professor Woolwood and by Filippo in his previous presentation. The orange polygons you can see on the map are all artisanal mines. So the whole area, actually, in all area you can find artisanal tin mines. Ipis did a pilot study to monitor specific socioeconomic and health indicators over time in comparison with the control, which is the village of Kio2. We started the baseline in October 2021, shortly before the first transfers, cash transfers, were done in Mutala. We did the midline measurement in October 2022, and the end line measurement was done a couple of weeks ago. So the data I will present, or actually first time I will present it, and it's the first the first time I will talk about it. For this pilot study, we used a specific questionnaire, including questions on material living conditions, such as housing, investments, jobs, and also on quality of life, including health, nutrition, security indicators. In the meantime, new villages, as Steven already mentioned, have been added to the program. We have the village of Balendilende and the village of Massimelo, which was added now a couple of weeks ago, actually 3 weeks ago. In those two villages, we only performed baseline measurements. We do not have, we did not yet monitor any effects that will be done next year, but there we will use a more elaborate questionnaire, not the same one we have used here at the pilot study. And for that questionnaire, we also collaborate with the EOP. Now, the two villages are comparable, UCT and Kanto village, which is important, as Professor Ovid already explained. And, well, based on a multivariate correspondence analysis we did, we can say that our Kanto and UCT village is comparable. And the comparable characteristics are the fact that there is a mixed population of farmers and miners, with a majority of farmers. The proximity of artisanal mine sites, tin mine sites,
the proximity of a commercial center. In this case, it's Kalima. Both villages are located along a national provincial road. The percentage of children of the total population is comparable in both villages, and there is the availability of a school. So I will now share some notable observations. One of the most important indicators we studied is housing. It's also a poverty, an important poverty indicator. And we measured, or we looked into housing as an indicator and see whether there was an improvement or not, or if we could measure change. So we asked the question, whether people invested in housing in the past year. And you see here a clear difference between the UCT and the control village regarding the proportion of households where people have invested in the improvement of their house in the past year. It's about 33% of the households in the UCT village and only 3% in the control village. This difference is reflected also in these two images here. Actually, this is the situation of Lutala in 2021, Lutala, the UCT village, and in 2023. What you see there actually is the road and the village. The dots are actually houses or households. The blue dots are houses with a metal roof. The yellow dots are houses with straw roofs. An important improvement in housing is installing metal roofs in Congo. When you look at the right image, the 2023, you see that the number of houses with a metal roof has more than tripled in 2 years' time. When we compare the, something wrong with this slide? Okay. When we compare the evolution of houses with metal roofs in the control village and in the UCT village, then you see clearly that in the UCT village, over a period of 2 years, gradually the proportion of households with a metal roof is increasing. That's something you do not see in the control village. We also looked into investment in professional tools and protective equipment. So we asked the question, did you invest money in professional tools, farming tools, mining tools in the past year? As I explained, the majority of the people are working in farming. And you can see a nice difference also here. 64% of the inhabitants of the UCT village confirmed having invested in agricultural tools in the past year compared to 27% in the UCT village. In the mining, with regard to mining tools, we asked the same question, but then with respect to mining tools to the group of miners. There you see also a difference, also it's more moderate, but the group of miners, of the proportion of miners that have invested in mining tools in the past year is higher in the UCT village compared to the control village. More important is the investment that people did in protective material. And then I'm talking here protective material in the mining business, in the mining, because most of artisanal miners work barefoot or just wear flip-flops. So what we see here is that in the UCT village, an important, more than 50% of the miners, an important proportion of the miners have invested in protective material, which means here in boots, which is a major improvement because when, as I told you, normally they work barefoot or on flip-flops. So this is an important improvement, and you don't see that at all in the control village. Investing in livestock is also something what we have investigated and analyzed. When we are talking about livestock, we're talking about poultry, about pigs, about sheep or goats, or the combination of these animals, the breeding of these animals. Also here we see that 68% of the inhabitants of the UCT village have invested in the past year in livestock, whereas the proportion in the control village is much lower. It's about 29%. A very important indicator, in our opinion, is diet variety as an indicator for socioeconomic well-being. So, sorry, there is something wrong here. Can I go back? This one. There's one slide missing, I think.
This one still doesn't work. Challenges. Wait. Up. You wanna go back here or more?
Yeah, the food, food. Yeah, there's one slide missing, unfortunately.
Sorry.
Okay, it's not a problem.
Really sorry about that.
Yeah, there's one slide missing, but it's not really a problem. The basic meal actually in Congolese villages, and the basic meal of the poor in Congo consists of fufu, which is based on manioc and vegetables. Basically, it's sambe. So what we have seen is that in the control village and in the UCT village, at baseline, the larger proportion of people ate just that basic meal daily. 87% in the UCT village, 90% of the population in the control village. But what do we see in 2023? We see that in the UCT village, only 25% of the population still continue only eating this basic meal, but 75% add to this basic meal of fufu and vegetables additional foodstuffs, and this is mainly in Lutala, in the UCT village. It's fish that is added. This is something you do not see at all in the control village. On the contrary, actually, the proportion of people relying on a basic meal has increased from 90 to 96. Interesting is also that we noticed that people have invested money, used part of the UCT money to invest in the creation and the development of fish ponds, so cultivation of fish. We asked at the end of our quantitative survey a more qualitative question about the way they have spent their money. When we look at health, we see here that with regard to health self-assessment, there are proportionally more people in the UCT village that self-assess their health as good to very good in 2023 compared to 2029. Actually, but you don't see that difference in the control village. Actually, at the baseline, the proportion of people feeling good or very good in the control village and in the UCT village were more or less comparable. This is not the case anymore at the end in 2023. Another interesting parameter we investigated was the availability of money to buy medication. We asked people whether they have been ill in the past year, and within those group we asked whether they were able or whether they had money available to pay for medication. So here again you see an interesting difference between the control group and the UCT group. 73% of the adult people in the UCT village who have been ill in the past year had money to pay for medication, compared to 0 in the control group. In the control group in 2023, a smaller part was able to borrow some money, and the larger proportion of the inhabitants have been ill in the past year, relied on free of charge traditional medicine. We asked the same question with regard to ill and sick children. So we asked households whether their children have been ill in the past year and whether they were able to pay for the medication. Interestingly, we see that in the UCT village, in the end-line analysis 2023, 100% of the households confirmed that they were able to, or that they had the money available to pay for medication. And that was only 42% in 2021. You see there is no change observed in the control village. Again, you see that the proportions were comparable in the control village and in the UCT village at baseline. That is also an interesting indicator to see whether UCT can trigger change. What we have observed here, this is a graph of the evolution of deaths between 2021 and 2023. And we see that in 2021, equal portions of respondents in the UCT and control village confirmed of having deaths. It's around 40 to 50% of the population. Whereas in 2023, this proportion has clearly decreased in the UCT village. Only 15% of the population admitted that they still have deaths, whereas more than 85% said us that they had no deaths at all. We also looked at the participation of villagers in civil society organizations. Now, there's not that much difference between the baseline and the end line in the UCT village with regard to participation in civil society organizations. There's a small increase, but it's not an important increase. But the interesting observation here is that from the 38% of villagers in the UCT village that confirmed that they were a member of a civil society organization, all of them are members of a savings organization, which is of course linked to the UCT. That's also what some of them mentioned in the qualitative question when we asked them how they spent the money in the past year. These savings organizations are like, they call them tontines, mutuelles. They are very popular in Congo, but not only in Congo, in several African countries. These systems exist, and these organizations allow people to step in, to put in some money and to save money, but also to get credits. And these credits are used, for example, to buy these metal roofs, the corrugated sheets, to buy livestock, to buy, for example, or to contribute to the purchase of a motorcycle, for example. The preliminary conclusions of these end-line data from the pilot study are that villagers receiving UCT seem to use the money to improve the quality of their house, to improve the quality of their daily diet, to invest in professional and protection equipment, to invest in livestock and in fish farming, to pay their debts and to buy medication. So in general, you can say that villagers spend the money they receive unconditionally in a responsible way. There are some indicators, I don't have graphs here, but I think I can mention it. There are some indicators where we do not see in this pilot study important differences between control and the UCT village. For example, we do not see any important difference with regard to child labor. We do not see any we do not see any important impact on entrepreneurship. That is more or less comparable with the control village. But of course, again, these are very preliminary data, and we, as in Buzibi in Uganda, it's very small villages. We have in Lutala, UCT villages, we have 117 inhabitants. The control village is even smaller with 50 adults. So 117 adults, 50 adults, quite small to draw strong conclusions. But I think these conclusions about the improvement I just mentioned here in this list, I think these are quite important. Thank you very much.